Happy Halloween! We're going to take a look at some more interesting games for Halloween. I had a moment where I was like, well, maybe I should look at these kind of more well trodden games, and these games have been looked at by other people, but I think if we go for some 2600 stuff, I enjoyed ET so much that I wanted to start digging in the crates and start looking at some 2600 games I've never played, because it's far beyond my time. But let's start with Alien, the 79? Was that when the movie came out? 77? Late 70s 20th Century Fox movie. What did they build? They built Pac-Man. Now this looks really rudimentary, and like you can see things like the pack pellets are not in order, and you know the graphics are very basic. But you have to remember, if you've never seen 2600 Pac-Man, it's pretty infamous for being a bad port of Pac-Man. So in that 2600 port, all the ghosts flicker randomly, constantly, and just the graphics just do not do Pac-Man justice. In terms of a Pac-Man clone, this is pretty decent actually. It does all of the things that Pac-Man does, on a platform probably not built to run Pac-Man, to be honest. I mean, the Atari 2600 came out in 1977. Ooh, it's a Frogger. Get the thing. Whatever the thing is. So the fact they managed to do this competently and better than Atari at the time is pretty good going. I think maybe the thing they could have got away from is having the little Pac-Man siren in the background. That's maybe a bit too close to the original, but in terms of creating a Pac-Man style game, I say Pac-Man style game, a Pac-Man game with the Alien license on it, which that's the other thing. Those guys kind of look like Xenomorphs, but this is so loosely based in the world of Atari or in the world of Alien, sorry. This is long before the days where you had the fidelity to do real licensed properties like this. So I just thought this one was super interesting. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's an amazing game or particularly original. If anything, it's a pretty shameless clone of Pac-Man, but it's at least playable, and it runs alright. It looks okay, and considering what you had on offer if you wanted to play Pac-Man on the Atari 2600, this is actually a much better alternative. So in that way, kind of hard to complain about. I'll try and make it through this level. Yeah, it's just strange coming back to stuff like this, because you look back at Pac-Man now and it looks so rudimentary, but you forget that arcade games at the time were way beyond what consoles could do. If you think kind of the Atari 2600, like the Atari 5200 had a pretty faithful port of Pac-Man, I think. The ColecoVision was getting close with like stuff like Donkey Kong, but it was always several years after the game came out. These arcade perfect ports were things that didn't really exist at the time. Arcade Perfect it plays basically like the arcade version, but looks nowhere near as good. But good enough for some people, I guess. I don't know, the 2600 is one of those difficult consoles. I think it's very difficult to have an appreciation for it if you weren't there at the time. I think everything later on, even the ColecoVision, I can play things like Venture and Ladybug. They still feel like modern games, but the Atari 2600 is just so basic. It's quite difficult. Anyway, that's Alien. I don't think we need to watch me play Pac-Man for much longer. Oh, maybe that'll be the... Oh no, I got one more life. That's Pac-Man. I don't think there's anything more else to say about that, so let's move on to the next game. Alright, on to another couple of games. These are published by Wizard Video, developed by VSS. This is Halloween, and I'll be perfectly honest, I'd seen this in a video somewhere. I'm actually impressed by how much of a game this thing is. You compare it to something like Alien, which is really basic. I mean, this did come out in '83. I mean, look at those graphics, like flickering lights. This is great. Yeah, '83. So this is late era 2600. I'm trying to think of the systems that would have been out at the time. So it was the 2600. Right. So the purpose of the game is not get killed by Michael Myers, and try and rescue the kids. So you saw the little kid on the screen previously. You got to get them to the end of the house, either all the way to the left or all the way to the right. You get 3 lives. You can get killed by Michael Myers. The kid can get killed by Michael Myers. Alright, see if I can actually rescue somebody. Come. There we go. Oh no. Let's go, let's go, let's go! Through the blinky light room. Those blinky lights are awesome. Hey, I got him! You get some score for that. And the bottom, it's at the end of the house where you can go up or downstairs. So it's kind of a little bit like Pitfall, where you've got kind of 2 layers of platforming going on. It's kind of neat. Get out of it. So you might have also spotted on one of these screens there was a little weapon I could have picked up. Here we go. I haven't figured out if I need to hold the button yet. No, I don't. That's just me being insane. So you press the button once to latch on. Oh. Oh. How is he warping around so quickly? Come on. There we go. Gotta let go of his hand. So that's the game. You're essentially just rescuing people and trying not to get killed. Oh, it's really difficult to play in these rooms where you can't see anything though. Especially when you've got a kid next to you. Oh, this is going to end badly. Oh, I didn't die. There's a kid down there I can try and save. I quite like the Halloween music kicking in every time Michael Myers shows up. That's kind of cool. No. So he seems to come down and then focus on the bottom of the screen if it's a kid. So you kind of want to go off the screen and come back again. I'm doing alright at this. Oh, he's getting faster. He's had enough of my my amazing ways. Get up there. I feel like I'm cheating. I feel like I'm not having to go very far. This is certainly a lot easier if you only have to travel one screen. Oh, Jesus. Do you think that kid got... Oh. Yeah, that kid got killed. It's grim as well. Oh! Ah! I got murderized. So that cost me a life. Come on, let's go. Michael Myers is slowed down. Man, this game's kind of cool. For what it is, which is a 2600 platformer. It's surprisingly violent and also surprisingly good. I'll give it that. Actually able to build tension. Man, there are horror games that came out last year that could learn a lesson from this. And this is what, 30 years old? Oh, oh. Man, look at that score. Don't, oh. But the graphics are also especially well detailed for Atari 2600. You're used to Atari games looking really blocky and unrefined. This looks pretty decent. you're not going to mistake it for, you know, a Nintendo game of, because I mean 1983 the Famicom had come out in Japan, I guess, or was just about to come out. You're not going to mistake it for that, but given the hardware, the 2600 was never a powerhouse. This is pretty damn good. Apart from the bass tone being slightly out of tune on the Halloween theme. I like this game. It's, you know, you compare it against anything else on the licensed game list at the minute, it's quite simple, but I think actually it benefits from that. Trying to be too complicated? Maybe a downfall. Let's have a look at the second Wizard video game. I don't have much knowledge about the movie for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I'm going to guess it's not a lot like this game. This is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, published by Wizard Games again, or Wizard Video, sorry. Developed by VSS. And this is a weird one. So, a blue thing is a chainsaw. I'm stuck on something. So, the idea is you're trying to find people to chainsaw. That's the idea of the game. You do that by moving around the screen and chainsawing. If you touch anything, any of these things, oh, you get a horrible beat when the kid shows up. Poor person. He makes that awesome noise. But yeah, if you get caught on anything, you have to use chainsaw fuel to get out of it. And the chainsaw fuel essentially defines your life. Oh, come on. Well, that went well. I'm sure there's a way you can refuel. I can just never remember how you do it. But yeah, that beeping noise is grotesque. Graphically, I think this looks pretty good, though. Again, as 2600 games go, this isn't bad. Come on. I like that noise. You actually get fuel from murdering. I didn't realise that. So there is a risk reward to saving your fuel. That being said, if you happen to get stuck on stuff, then bad luck being you. Ah! So I think if you compare this to Halloween, both the same developer, Halloween is a much better game. I think this feels like a prototype for what video games would become. It doesn't feel like an enjoyable product. Like at some point I'm doing exactly what the game wants me to do, but there's no enjoyment to be had out of doing this. Well, not for me anyway. And then when you run out of lives, you get a kick in the arse and you disappear. And that's about it. Like, the problem with these Atari 2600 games is you can't really talk about them for 20-30 minutes. When there's about 4 minutes of gameplay. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of this game. I think Halloween is interesting, but I think from a technical standpoint, this was probably interesting at the time because it was effectively doing scrolling, which the Atari 2600 was very rarely did. I mean, it's faking scrolling, I guess, because essentially it's not really, the screen's not scrolling. It's, you know, the elements in front of it are scrolling, but that's still technically interesting. From today's standpoint, I think being impressed by scrolling graphics is very few people who are going to be able to achieve that. So that be it. That's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Go play Halloween instead, I think, is the recommendation for that.